instrument that will regulate the operationalization of the Act. Government intends to strictly enforce these clauses. The digitalization efforts already described is also expected to introduce several interventions that will ensure transparency in land administration, both at the customary and state levels. The improved level of transparency is expected to significantly reduce the opportunities for corruption. Mr. Speaker, another area of addressing corruption in land administration, especially with respect to state public land, is by introducing a clear policy on the management of public lands. The Lands Commission has prepared a draft policy on public land management, which has been submitted to my office. I intend to subject the draft policy to a larger stakeholder consultations for inputs and to implement some same to guide the allocation and management of public lands. This, Mr. Speaker, is intended to be undertaken as part of larger review of the 1999 National Land Policy. Recognizing that the existing National Land Policy of 1999 is outdated and does not fully address current challenges, the Ministry has initiated steps to review and update that policy. One of the recommendations of the National Land Conference held in 2022 was the review of the 1999 National Land Policy under the guidance and leadership of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and in collaboration with the Office of Steward Lands, the land sector, multiple stakeholder platform, and other partners have developed a roadmap for the review and preparation of a new national land policy. A technical committee comprising the various land sector agencies have been put together to address this issue. Mr. Speaker, the revised policy, once in place, will address the following. The Land Act 1036, ensuring coherence with recent legislative reforms, current socio-economic and technological realities, addressing emerging land-related challenges such as urbanization, climate change, and digitalization, international best practices, that is incorporating globally accepted land governance principles to enhance efficiency and transparency, and also serve as the foundation framework for land management in the country. The policy is expected to address issues such as land encroachments, multiple land sales, unapproved development schemes, aiming to harmonize laws and practices to facilitate equitable access to land and enhance tenure security. I thank you, Rhino Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Professor Kinsley Nyako, do you have a right to tell the member not to follow up?
No, I didn't. I didn't say that. He was sitting down, and I asked him if he has a follow-up question. I was just asking him.
Well, that is for me to ask. Honorable member, do you have a supplementary question?
No, I am grateful.
Thank you very much. So, Honorable Professor Kinsley Nyako, you can now have the floor.
Honorable Badahiafo, the Speaker in chair, my very good friend, thank you for the opportunity. Honorable Minister, before the policy is done and implemented, what are the concrete steps that your outfit is taking now to deal with corruption within the land sector? Thank you.
I laid it out clearly. We must strictly enforce the Act that currently has been passed to address the issues, the land guards issues, the forgery of documents, impersonation, multiple states. These are all clearly laid out, and the punitive steps have all been laid out. We must strictly enforce them, and working with law enforcement, I think that's what we should start doing. Thank you.
Honorable Lukuto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is the minister mindful of the fact that Lands Commission generally... Is the minister mindful of the fact that there are a lot of issues relating to incompetence of some staff, usually because of family and friends dealings within the Lands Commission, and that people are there by virtue of the fact that they have their parents working with the Lands Commission. And most of these workers, there is no strict policy on transfers. So you see some of them being there for about 15 years, 20 years. They are never transferred anywhere. And so they know the ins and outs of the whole Lands Commission. And these are the ones that are able to forge and to clean some records and replace for the sake of their personal benefits. Are you mindful of this fact, and what do you intend to do about these transfer policies, especially about people who have stayed in the Lands Commission over 15 and 20 years?
Honorable Locutor, do you have any evidence to that effect that those who stay for a longer period are likely to be those who will be involved
Mr. Speaker,
in the corruption?
Mr. Speaker, if you may want to know, I'm a licensed surveyor. I've practiced in the field of Lands Commission for over 20 years. And so these are facts. I know what I'm talking about.
Well, honorable members, I would advise that we are guided in making certain statements, particularly on the floor of the House. But I will give you the benefit of the doubt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The issues raised are very, very important issues. And I'm happy that the Honorable Member brought it to my attention. We will aggressively look into these matters. I thank you.
Honorable Former Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister made mention of the need to raise 165 million to fix the problems at Lands Commission. I'd like to know from the Minister whether he is considering PPP to raise and implement this project, and also how far is he also looking at the issue of making Lands Commission the sole sales agent for all lands in Ghana. Sole sales agent for all lands in Ghana. So the issue of boundary disputes, issues of land gas and double sale do not arise anymore.
Honorable Minister, you have the floor.
Madam Speaker, I think in my answer I had said that all options were on the table, including engaging the Ministry of Finance, other sectors, including Minister of Communication and Digitalization, and the private sector. And in that area, I was thinking more of those PPP, proposals. We already have some of them we are reviewing, and so we'll continue to do that. I think you meant transactions, not just transactions, land transactions. Those are matters that we can review at the ministry. I thank you.
Honorable Minority Chief Whip.
Speaker, let me thank the Minister for his answers. Minister, if you may, let's reference your answers. I think paragraph 5 and 6. You are basically talking about stakeholder consultation and then the need to have a review of your 1999 land policy. Will you be kind enough to let this House know? I'm asking this question because oftentimes we are...
Is that in respect of question number 52?
Speaker, 52 years. It's in respect of 52. Yes. We tend to be in a hurry to amend policies, to amend our laws. Would you share with us the trust of the success story of the 1999 policy? And what is it about the 1999 policy that you want to review, specific to what needs to be reviewed? And then maybe your consultation, can you give us some timeline? It's not new, I'm within the fall. So you got consultation that you intend to engage, that's on your 5th paragraph. Can you give us some timelines, please?
Honorable Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think that the question was related to how we kept corruption at the Lands Commission, and I had laid out various steps. As part of that answer, I talked about the need to look at the 1999 policy. If the honorable member wants us to comprehensively address the issues of the achievements of the 1999 policy, I'll be happy to bring that in a comprehensive answer once he asks that question. I thank you.
I know he's a sector minister. I am not seeking a comprehensive answer. So I'm asking this because we tend to be in a hurry oftentimes to change policy and to amend laws. I'm saying, what has been the success? You can give us a gist of it. And what is the motivation? Why do we want to amend that policy? What is the motivation? You don't need to give me a 3-page answer. Just give me 1 paragraph answer. That should be enough.
Mr. Speaker, I think in my answer, this is what I stated. Recognizing that the existing national land policy of 1999 is outdated and does not fully address current challenges, including the issues of digitalization and all these modern tools that, quite frankly, are not included in the 1999 policy. On the recommendation of the National Land Conference, which was held in 2022, a review was recommended. A review was recommended. And I have said it is important because of these reasons that we undertake that review and bring a new policy. Join us to do that work. I thank you.
Honourable members, we have 3 more questions. And given question time being regulated by Standing Order 77, I intend not to take any further supplementary question, but to thank the Minister responsible for Lands and Natural Resources for attending upon the House and providing answers to all the 3 questions posed to him. We'll have to move to the other questions on today's order paper. Honorable members, I have been informed that, so Honorable Minister, you are discharged. I have been informed that the answers to questions number 40, 63, and 64 are going to be programmed and given to us by the order paper addendum. So in the meantime, let me vary the order of business, and then we move to, well, honorable members, I understand it has been loaded, the answer has been loaded on the console. So if you are comfortable, then we proceed to take question number 40. Honorable members, question number 40 is in the name of Honorable Vincent Eko Asafua, Member of Parliament for Old Tafo.
No. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker.
You may take your seats.
Respectfully.
Well, what is the pleasure of the House?
Speaker, if my colleague will agree with me, may we rather go on to the statement, because I get a signal colleagues are finding a bit of a challenge in reading the answers. So, Speaker, may we proceed to go on statement? I'm sure after a while we'll get the other people addendum with the answers advertised. Then we can revert.
Thank you, Honorable Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, indeed, that was the original suggestion.
Yes.
Until we're informed that the answers have been loaded. So if
that is so.
So we have no objection at all.
Honourable members, the sense of the House is to move to statement. Accordingly, I vary the order of business to take the item number 7. Honourable members, the Minister for Foreign Affairs is invited to apprise the House on the deportation of Ghanaian citizens in the United States of America and related matters. Honourable members, the Minister is here. I proceed to give the floor to the Minister.
I'm grateful to you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make this statement on the deportation of Ghanaians from the United States of America. By way of background, Honorable Speaker, upon assuming office as President of the United States of America, His Excellency Donald Trump instituted several executive actions, including executive order on deportation. Central to President Trump's immigration agenda was his firm commitment to carrying out mass deportations of individuals living in the U.S. without legal status. This initiative primarily targeted those who either entered the country illegally or overstayed their visas. As of 23 February 2025, the United States has implemented significant changes to its immigration policies, leading to profound consequences for migrant communities. These changes have resulted in mass deportations of undocumented migrants and heightened enforcement measures along the southern border with Mexico. Initially, the deportation efforts under the Trump administration prioritized undocumented immigrants and non-citizen residents with serious criminal records. However, reports indicate that individuals without criminal histories, those with final deportation orders, individuals with expired visas, and even recipients of temporary protected status, TPS, have also been subject to deportation, accorded in that number. However, 94 Ghanaians were deported from the U.S. in 2024. The ongoing raids by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement and reports of mass deportations have fostered a climate of fear and uncertainty within migrant communities. Actions taken by U.S. authoritative immigrants. Following this directive, 178 Venezuelan migrants were transferred to the facility and subsequently deported to Honduras, from where they were repatriated to Venezuela. As of now, no Ghanaian national is reportedly detained at this facility. Increased border security. The Trump administration's strengthened border enforcement has led to a notable reduction in illegal migrant crossings, particularly along the southern border. According to data from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, daily arrests in the El Paso sector of the border fell dramatically from 1,800 in 2023 to fewer than 100 in January 2025. This decline in illegal crossings is largely attributed to a comprehensive government strategy that involved collaboration across multiple federal agencies. The Department of State, Defense and Justice, alongside Homeland Security and ICE, work together to enhance border security and tighten enforcement measures. These efforts included increased border patrols, the construction of additional barriers, and the deployment of advanced surveillance technologies to monitor and prevent illegal crossings. The concerted strategy appears to have significantly disrupted migration patterns in the region, contributing to the reduction in arrests and crossings. However, Mr. Speaker, while the administration views this as a success in border control, it has also led to ongoing debates about the broader impacts of migrant communities and the human rights concerns associated with such stringent enforcement measures. In partnership with Panama and Costa Rica, the U.S. has established agreements to temporarily detain deportees in these countries before they are returned to their home countries. Under these arrangements, migrants who are deported from the U.S. are often held in detention camps in Panama or Costa Rica as part of the deportation process. However, reports from detainees have highlighted concerning conditions in these camps. Migrants held in Panama, for example, have complained about harsh living conditions, limited freedoms, and restricted access to legal assistance. These complaints have raised concerns about the treatment of individuals awaiting deportation in these temporary detention facilities. The Ghana mission, Mr. Speaker, in Washington has reported that 2 Ghanaian nationals were recently deported to Costa Rica by ICE. The mission is working with the International Organization for Migration, IOM, for eventual transfer to Ghana. The involvement of these third-party countries in the deportation process reflects a broader U.S. strategy to manage its deportation efforts and control migration flows. Targeting of unaccompanied migrant children. A recent directive has instructed U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents to locate and deport unaccompanied migrant children who entered the U.S. without parental guardianship. This initiative targets over 600,000 unaccompanied minors who have entered the U.S. since 2019. The measures being implemented as part of this initiative include the use of DNA testing to verify familial relationships, to ensure that children are returned to their families or home countries safely. However, the initiative has raised concerns regarding the potential removal of children who have been living in the U.S. for extended periods, particularly those residing in state shelters or with non-relative sponsors. Among those potentially affected are Ghanaian children. As at now, there are 4 children who are known to the Ghana mission who fall under this category. These children, like many others, may face the possibility of deportation if they are unable to prove familial connections or guardianship under the new ICE directive. The move has raised alarm within advocacy groups who have expressed concerns about the impact it may have on the safety and well-being of these vulnerable minors. While checks indicate that there have been no large-scale deportations of Ghanaian nationals, the immigration enforcement measures implemented by the Trump administration are having a significant impact on the Ghanaian community. One of the sources of confusion and concern has been reports that suggest that U.S. immigration officers are closely scrutinizing individuals with dual citizenship, particularly those who travel abroad using both their U.S. and Ghanaian passports. This has further heightened uncertainty within the Ghanaian community, as many individuals fear that their travel may lead to complications with immigration authorities. So, Mr. Speaker, currently, the mood within the Ghanaian community is one of fear and anxiety. Several leaders from various Ghanaian associations have expressed concerns about the growing apprehension among community members. There has been a noticeable decline in attendance at events, with many individuals opting to avoid public gatherings to reduce the risk of encountering immigration enforcement. Similarly, some Ghanaian churches have reported a significant drop in participation, which they attribute to the strict immigration measures enforced by the Trump administration. Many community members are reportedly hesitant to engage in social or religious activities due to the ongoing fears surrounding their immigration status. This trend, Mr. Speaker, is expected to continue unless the Trump administration eases its hard stance on immigration, offering reassurance to immigrant communities as long as these measures remain in place. The climate of fear and uncertainty is likely to persist, affecting not only the Ghanaian community, but also other immigrant populations across the U.S. These are the measures the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have taken so far. In response to the ongoing concerns about potential deportations, the ministry has begun engaging with all relevant stakeholders to prepare for the possible deportation of Ghanaian nationals from the U.S. A key step in this process was the stakeholder meeting held on the 17th of February 2025. The meeting aimed to develop comprehensive preparatory measures in anticipation of potential deportations, evaluate vulnerabilities within the Ghanaian community, and establish necessary support mechanisms. One of the key outcomes of the meeting was the identification of resources needed to provide assistance to deported nationals, including transportation to their final destinations and any available reintegration programs. Additionally, the stakeholders discussed the importance of coordinating efforts between the ministry, local organizations, our international partners, to ensure that Ghanaian nationals who are deported are adequately supported upon their return to Ghana. The meeting also focused on the need to secure budgetary allocation to address these challenges and ensure that the ministry can provide the necessary resources for deportees, as well as address the broader humanitarian aspect of the deportation process. The ministry's proactive engagement with stakeholders reflects a commitment to minimizing the impact on affected individuals and ensuring that proper support systems are put in place for those who eventually return to Ghana. Institutions represented at the meeting were the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of the Interior, the National Security Secretariat, Research Department, the Ghana Immigration Service, the National Investigations Bureau, the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, the National Ambulance Service, the Department of Social Welfare, and Port Health. Now, Mr. Speaker, on the 21st of February 2025, I held a very constructive meeting with the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Her Excellency Virginia E. Palmer. The meeting sought broader cooperation and understanding of exactly what U.S. authorities were engaged in, and we also sought to ensure that the deportations are carried out in a very humane manner. It will be recalled that there have been times in recent years where nationals have been deported in conditions which were most appalling. For example, deporting people in chains, in handcuffs, chaining them to their seats as they are flown into our country. We have stated that we will want these matters to be an incident occurring in the past, and that we do not want them to recur. These deportations must be carried out in a humane manner. During the meeting, it was also emphasized that the affected Ghanaians do not have criminal records, and that any Ghanaian currently serving a jail term will not be deported until their sentence has been fully served. And we have received full assurances from the U.S. Ambassador in Accra on these matters. Updates from the Washington mission indicates as follows. Currently, there are 150 Ghanaians in detention across various centers in the US who are awaiting deportation for crimes such as rape, internet fraud, and illegal entry. None of the affected Ghanaians are in detention as we speak. 50 out of the 150 individuals have received final deportation orders from the courts. Their deportation is expected to take place by mid-year, mid-2025. The remaining 100 cases are either under appeal or have been dismissed. Representations have been made to U.S. authorities on behalf of one Ghanaian on the 8th of March 2025 and 1st April 2025, respectively. 10 Ghanaians have also been interviewed by the embassy to verify their nationalities and ensure that they have received a fair hearing. They are now awaiting the Department of Homeland Security to purchase their flight tickets before their travel documents for their deportation can be issued. The Ghana Embassy in Washington, in collaboration with Ghanaian immigration attorneys in the U.S., have been organizing virtual town hall meetings to offer legal guidance and support to nationals facing immigration challenges. Upon the issuance of final removal orders, the individuals' names will be forwarded to the ministry for further processing. It should be noted that the aforementioned cases existed prior to President Trump's assumption of office, with the exception of 2 Ghanaians who were deported to Costa Rica, as outlined in the actions taken by the U.S. authorities. In line with the ministry's established practices and in collaboration with the relevant authorities, arrangements will be made to ensure the reception of our compatriots upon their arrival in Ghana. This will include health screening, psychological support, assistance with specific needs, and transportation to their final destination. Reintegration. The ministry is in discussion with NADMO and other partners, including the International Organization for Migration, to extend support in reintegration and providing additional sources of livelihood to our compatriots upon arrival. Options include arranging skills training, microfinancing opportunities, and psychological support to help individuals reintegrate into the society and rebuild their livelihoods. Additionally, we will work with local authorities and communities to ensure that those returning are supported in their readmission into the society to enable them contribute to their communities. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the ministry continues to closely monitor developments related to the potential deportation of Ghanaian nationals from the U.S. to inform further actions. This ongoing monitoring will allow the ministry to stay updated on any changes in immigration policies, enforcement practices, or shifts in the situation that may affect the Ghanaian community. The operationalization of the Consular Fund, as approved by Cabinet, will be critical in supporting our affected compatriots returning home. It is anticipated that the ministry's budget, which is before this August House and awaiting approval, will receive your kind approval of the $2 million we have allocated to operationalize the Consular Fund. Mr. Speaker, based on these developments, the ministry will assess the need for additional measures, resources, or interventions to support affected individuals. By staying proactive and responsive, the ministry aims to ensure that Ghanaian nationals are well supported throughout this process, whether through legal assistance, reintegration programs, or other necessary forms of aid. Further actions will be determined in coordination with all stakeholders. But the message we want to send to our compatriots very clearly is that they are not alone in these difficult times. Their government and the people in Parliament will make sure that their needs, their consular needs, are supported. And Mr. Speaker, we'll continue to do all we can to make sure that we are with them throughout these processes until they arrive and they are fully reintegrated in our communities. This is the update on the situation involving the deportation, the potential deportation of some 150 Ghanaians from the United States of America. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, that's a statement from the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs. I will therefore open the floor for comment. I recognize Honourable Patrick Yabuama.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would want to cut the Minister's attention, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Minister, if you go to the website of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, Enforcement and Removal Operations, ERO, November 2024, you realize that there's a table that the ICE or the U.S. agencies put out, which has listed all the countries and the persons to be deported. On that table, Ghana has about 3,228 of our nationals listed to be repatriated or deported. In your statement, you mentioned about 150 or so, 50 of whom have gotten final deportation orders from the U.S. Institution. So I would want to seek further clarification from you on this one. Secondly, I listed the budget and you came at the end of your statement to talk about a $2 million consular support fund for its operationalization. That I will not belabor that. But with your stakeholder engagement, I also realized you left out the engagement with the IOM. You listed a host of institutions, RD, the ministry itself, and other institutions. But I realized you didn't engage the IOM, which is very important in these matters. And your engagement with the U.S. ambassador is also very important. Thirdly, you mentioned that 3 people are to buy their own tickets and fly down as per the U.S. requirements, and also 10 are being interviewed. The person or those who have already been deported, what has been the ministry's engagement? Because at the tail end of your presentation, you spoke about reintegration. What has been some of the follow-ups? Has the ministry gotten any response from this person ever since he or she got back into the country? Those are some of the preliminary matters I would want you to address. Thank you.
Yes. Honorable Xavier Soso.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the Minister for Foreign Affairs for this very detailed briefing of the House, and also to commend the ministry for the proactive measures that the ministry is taking in respect of these compatriots. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, going through the process of deportation obviously will be a very traumatizing situation. And the least we can do as a country and as leaders of this country is to be available and provide support and assistance to these compatriots who unfortunately find themselves in this space. And I'm really excited, particularly about the preparedness to receive these people who are already received their deportation orders. And I would want to urge this House that when that time comes, I think the Committee on Foreign Affairs and the leadership of this House should also be very interested in how we receive these people and how we assist them to integrate. And we all know that immigration and migration is a fact of life. And many of these compatriots who find themselves on the other side went with really good intentions, sometimes just to find greener pastures and so on and so forth. So if they find themselves in this unfortunate situation, then the state must indeed protect and support them. And I just want to commend the ministry and their various agencies for what they are doing, getting in touch with them, and ensuring that when they come back, we are even preparing to get them counselors that can counsel them and properly integrate them into the society. I believe that this is a caring ministry, and we need to commend the minister for that. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Let me give the floor to the lady.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I just want to make a comment and have a couple of questions. We know that the United States of America has long been a beacon of hope to a lot of people across all over the world, Ghana included. So we do have a lot of Ghanaians over there. Some may have overstayed their visa, gone through other means, which is why they're being deported. But one thing for sure is, and I'm sure the minister who probably has done the research will agree, if you do a profile of the Ghanaians who are being deported, probably they don't have criminal records. If you have maybe one or two, maybe traffic tickets or something, but a large number of them, you find that they don't have criminal records. They're there, they're living there responsibly, they work, and they're basically abiding people over there, but for their visa overstay and their immigration problem. So I'm glad to hear that the minister said he's basically negotiated with the United States to not have them be brought over in handcuffs, because they're not prisoners, and they're not prisoners of war, and they're certainly not slaves to be brought back in shackles. So I'm really glad to hear that. Another important thing that I'd like some clarification on is reintegration, because reintegration is extremely, extremely important and critical for the Ghanaian deportees coming back. Most of them have left Ghana for years, probably decades, and they may not even know their way around Accra. Accra has changed. If they've not been here, which they haven't, because there's no way, they didn't have their papers over there, they wouldn't have been able to travel back to Ghana for years. So they will even be lost in Accra, let alone find their way to their village or their hometown. Secondly, this is very traumatic. It's a devastating experience for each one of them, and I can't even imagine what it's like for the children who are involved. So we really must have reintegration action. Aside from the long term, we must have a long-term reintegration strategy, because it's not just going to be 150. Trust me, with the way Trump is going, it's not going to be just 150 who are going to be deported. There are probably going to be thousands of people who are going to be deported. So I would urge the Minister of Foreign Affairs to have a long-term reintegration strategy. And then I also heard he mentioned, I think, IOM, that normally supports reintegration. However, with a string of orders that President Trump signed right after he got into office, which was one of the mass deportations that in the history of America. Secondly was funding cuts. The IOM has been cut deeply, deeply. Because I know that even they're actually laying off about 5,000 workers, and there'll be more. So I know that the IOM funding in Ghana has probably been hit as well. So we need to find that, because normally I believe that they would have supported the reintegration. So my question is, will the Ghana government, provide funding for reintegration of these deportees? Because it's critical in terms of the economic hardship. They're going to face economic hardship. They'll come, they won't have jobs. They will not have any money on them. Because when they are picked up by ICE, they're not allowed to go home. They're not allowed to go to their bank account to withdraw any money that they've saved from the work that they're doing. They're coming with nothing, with no clothes on. Their only clothes on their back is what they're probably coming with. So we really have to make sure that we help them with the economic challenges they're going to face, and the stigma, because there's a stigma, unfortunately, in Ghana when people are deported. It's like you failed over there. And it's not about failure for these people. But if you go into their profile, which I hope the ministry will do, you find that they were responsible people over there. Some of them probably even have mortgages over there where they bought property, they have kids in school, some of them even pay taxes. You'll be surprised. Okay, so they're not criminals, and there's no failure about this. The only thing is that they went over there in search of whatever hope that they were seeking over there, and unfortunately they weren't able to get their papers
Honourable
right, so they're being deported. So my question is in terms of the long-term strategy for the reintegration, and if IOM is going to be depended on, we really need to take a look at that, review that, because there's been serious deep cuts in IOM all over the world where they're actually laying off 5,000 people, and their programs are also being withdrawn. It's not even suspended. It's been withdrawn. So we really have to look at that. And then the unaccompanied migrant children too. I would like some more information on that because they are unaccompanied. Who are they coming to? And we have to really focus on the reintegration. Otherwise, we probably have some homeless deportees when they get here, especially for those who may not have
Honourable Member, I think your time is up.
I'll wait till
Honourable Members, order. Order. Please conclude. Please conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I'd like to hear more about the reintegration strategy. Thank you.
Yes, leaders. You want to yield? Because the guidance is we are taking
Speaker, I'm sorry, I'm not yielding.
And leadership.
I want to speak.
Very well, speak. You have the floor.
Speaker, I think this House must pat its shoulder for what it has done. Show more responsibility and response to the need of our people. Speaker, I must commend the speakership for inviting the minister to apprise the House. We are listening to our colleague and the minister, giving details on the statistics, the engagement that have gone on so far, and what he seeks and his outfit seeks to do in the future. I cannot agree more with him when he says the action has fostered uncertainty and fear. And it's something we cannot gloss over. We can't play it down. It's a grave matter and we have to be up and doing. The statistics and the figures he put out, the 150, and he reflects on a certain 50 who the minister spoke to have received their final deportation orders, 50. And he goes ahead to talk about the 100 where the minister says is either on appeal or dismissal. And for me, there was no conclusion on that. At this point, I expected the minister to give us some conclusive statement that out of the 100 outstanding, 50 are on appeal or some numbers are also being dismissed. But he's telling us the truth, and I have no reason to worry to have a problem with him. But I am just saying that at this point, we as a country should be able to be on top of the situation and be able to tell with certainty the number that has been dismissed and the number that is still on appeal. Speaker, the minister spoke to reintegration, and then he mentioned the consular fund. It's something we've all been, I recall in our other world when he was ranking member and I was chair, it's been a matter that we've been passionate about. Thankfully, it's seeing the light of day. But I'm afraid to say the consular fund is not enough. We can't rely on the consular fund at this time. This is a case of emergency. We are yet to even pass the budget. We are yet to pass the budget. And because it's an emergency, I want to implore the minister that we have to work around the clock and find some oxygen to support our compatriots. fortunately, Minister, you put out some solutions. I was expecting that you define these solutions in the short-term, medium-term, and long-term solution. Then we would know that in the next 1 month, this is what the ministry will be doing to deal with the challenge at hand. And my minister at the 8th Parliament, where he was a ranking member, we worked together. Very typical of him. I'm sure if he was ranking by now, he would have been visiting some of the centers of detention. Up to this time, he hasn't told us if he has been to Costa Rica or not. Would you go or not? I want to, and I see my chair, Honorable Van der Poel. You should be advising the minister or go together, get our ranking, the ranking member, the chair, and the minister. But now you should be on your way to Costa Rica. You have to visit the detention centers. I know he will do it, but minister, you have to do that. Go there, and you have spoken. Is it the pipeline? Speaker, so let me plead with my minister. In fact, he has given a detailed report, which is good enough. That one, I won't take it away from him. It's good. He's giving a detailed report. But to the extent that report on human rights abuses, we must go there and see for ourselves. I commend you to also have engaged the U.S. ambassador to Ghana. And you can't put out all details. Note that the interventions needs to be defined. Honorable Ablakwa, the interventions, your short-term, medium-term intervention should be defined. And don't overly rely on the consular fund. Work around it, find some support, and which will be an interim intervention before the passage of the appropriation. I think if we're able to do this, it will go a long way to help our compatriots. Also, our Committee on Foreign Affairs, this cannot be one-off intervention. It has to be a sustained and well-regulated and monitored effort. Speaker, the next 1 month, the Committee on Foreign Affairs should be briefing this House as a result of a briefing they have received from the sector minister on interventions, fallout, and what has become of the effort of the ministry. I think if you do that, it will not be one-off efforts which will not be good enough. Having said this, I want to commend our colleague for a detailed report, for him to note that we are also going to monitor in the coming days. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And thank you to you and for the House for inviting the Minister here to come and update us on the situation going on in the United States. And Minister, thank you very much for a very comprehensive statement that you have made here today that should be comforting to Ghanaians, that we have a minister and a ministry who are basically being responsible in trying to deal with this situation. From what you have said, I am absolutely clear in my mind that you have plans in place in dealing with this, whether short-term, medium-term, long-term, as the honorable member has indicated. We cannot actually, as a country, blame President Trump for doing what he's doing. We may not like what he is doing, but he's doing it for America, for his country. We have to do what we have to do. And that's first and foremost, we have to be law-abiding citizens, as we are in our country and wherever we go. The people who have gone there are not criminals, but they are actually being brought home for a reason of not having the right documentation and all that. So we have to also advise our brothers and sisters that when they do travel, they make sure that they do what they have to do to make sure that they live in that country as legally as they can be. Just as Ghanaians, we want people to come and live here legally. But when such a situation arises, we have to be able to help our brothers and sisters. We cannot just leave them because we think they've either made a mistake. So I'm very happy with what the minister has said today. All the people that he's managed to meet, including the American ambassador here. It is important that we take our case, to where we should take it. And that's the closest you can get to Donald Trump, is actually to go to the ambassador. So I'm very happy with all the things that the minister has put in place. I wish the minister well, and I hope that, his team that is in the States and around here are actually able to help the minister. I'm sure the necessary travels will be done to make sure that our people are fine. Minister, thank you very much for coming to brief us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister, you may respond to the questions and make your concluding remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me thank honorable members for the very useful insights and comments that have been made in response to this statement. Mr. Speaker, I must also salute members for the empathy and solidarity that they have demonstrated in contributing to this statement. There are a few matters that require clarification, and I want to do that very quickly. The apparent contradiction in figures, the 3,228 on the ICE website, that has been there for more than 2 years. And we have probed those numbers. And what our mission tells us when they have inquired is that a lot of people contained in that ICE database have gone through appeals and they have been successful with the appeals. And so the ICE will have to amend that data. They haven't done that, and that's why you have that figure on their website since that period, since it was first put out there. But what we are dealing with now are the confirmed cases for deportation, the 150. We have been given names, and we are going through the processes, identifying their nationality, confirming that they are truly Ghanaians. So we are working with 150. So officially, what U.S. authorities have communicated to us is 150. And we will urge the Ghanaian people not to panic because of those earlier figures put out on various websites. Then I can also confirm that we have engaged the IOM. The Honorable Patrick Boama said that we didn't include that in the list. Yes, we didn't include IOM in the list for the 21st, the 15th February meeting because they were not at that meeting. We were just reporting on what happened at the stakeholders meeting. As for the IOM, when you pay regard to page 7 of my presentation, you see that we engage them separately on another day. So I said at paragraph 22 that we are continuing discussions with IOM, NADMO, and other partners on their reintegration and supporting them with other livelihood interventions. So I can assure honorable members that we continue to engage with IOM. But there is a matter that we also have to be concerned about. We cannot expect much from the IOM because they themselves have become victims of the executive orders by President Trump. And so they don't have a lot of funding these days for what they have traditionally been doing, which means that we have to look within. We have to be more resilient and come up with our own resources to take care of our people. We cannot rely on international partners. We don't really have much support coming from our international partners. We must look within, and that's what the government has been doing so far. There's another issue I must quickly speak to, which has to do with the tickets for the returnees. Let me place on record that the U.S. authorities are bearing the cost. They are paying the ticket fares for the deportation of our nationals, and all of these deportations they are doing, they are taking care of the cost. We are only to facilitate providing the travel certificate and making sure that as receiving countries we are ready to receive them when they arrive. But we are not paying for the tickets. The U.S. authorities are handling that. Then in terms of the profile, so far I can confirm that the profiling we have done, these are indeed Ghanaians, but they are Ghanaians who did not commit any crimes. They are not hardened criminals. They are decent people. They were just in search of greener pastures, did not regularize their stay as quickly as they should and have been caught up in this. But I can confirm that these are hardworking, decent Ghanaians, very harmless. And so there shouldn't be concern in Ghana that when we accept these people and reintegrate them, they may attack anybody or undermine the safety of our nationals. They are not hardened criminals. They are not dangerous. What they need is our empathy and our care, and we should really look out for them and show them compassion. That's what they need. I do agree that the consular fund will have to be supported, and we are hoping that when it comes to the approval of the estimates, honorable colleagues will help us in that regard so that we will get the fund which has been allocated for in the budget. We hope that you will join us to approve them. In terms of the children, we can confirm, as I said in the statement, that there are 4 Ghanaian children affected so far, but we are putting in place measures to make sure that they receive all the care that they deserve when they arrive in Ghana. A matter to do with stigma has been raised, which is a very important point. We need not stigmatize these 150 Ghanaians facing deportation. We must recognize that this can happen to anybody, and any of us could have been in their shoes. That is why in today's presentation we have kept their names out. We are not mentioning who they are. And indeed, when we welcome them at the airport, we also do that off camera we don't go with media, and we do not disclose their identities. It is particularly because of the issue of stigmatization. We do not want them to be stigmatized, and so we are protecting their identity, and we will continue on that path. Now, on Panama and Costa Rica, and why I have not visited Assad yet, I can confirm to you that under this arrangement, the persons who are held in Panama and Costa Rica have the opportunity to opt for integration in these countries. That is, if they do not want to be moved to their final destination. And the checks I have done, I did make efforts. I wanted to explore the possibility of visiting. But the information that we have received at the ministry is that there are only 2 Ghanaians in this category, this Panama situation, and they have opted to be integrated and to go about their normal activities in Panama. And so if I go to the camp now, I won't find any Ghanaian there. And if any of you go to the camps in Panama or Costa Rica, you will not find Ghanaians there because of that opportunity they have. If you want to be hosted and to integrate in those transit countries, you can do that. And they have opted for that. So let me be clear, for the record, there are no Ghanaians currently in these detention camps in Panama and Costa Rica. The only 2 who made it there have opted to be integrated in those countries. And so we are fine on that score. We don't have anybody to visit in those detention camps. I believe that, Right Honorable Speaker, I have adequately responded to all the matters that have been raised. In conclusion, I want to emphasize that we are keeping an eye on their arrival, on their reintegration. We are following up. We are working with NADMO very closely. So we have their records. We call to check up on them regularly. And those who have arrived are doing fine. And as I said, we are looking at the budgetary allocations that have been made. When we get your approval, we'll look at skills training, how to support them, those who may want to start up. Because the way they were arrested, they couldn't even have access to their savings, they couldn't have access to their valuables. It was all done in a very rushed manner. And so we would need to extend support services to them. And I can give you that firm assurance that we will do that. We continue to look out for them. We will not abandon them. They are our fellow compatriots, and we are here to serve them. And that is the philosophy guiding the whole attitude towards their return and reintegration. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. On behalf of the House, I express our gratitude for you attending upon the House and making this valuable statement in apprising the House on the deportation of Ghanaian citizens in the United States of America and related matters. Once again, thank you. Honour members, question numbered 40, 63, and 64 are directed at the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs. And once the order paper addendum is ready and it's been loaded on the console for some time, can we proceed to take that question by coming back to item number 6 on today's order paper? Yes, Honorable Minority Chief.
Speaker, with respect, as you do recall, we engaged at conclave. I recognize the Minister is here, and as he's delivered the statement, ordinarily we should allow him to proceed to take the question. Speaker, we stand in breach of Order 208. Speaker, I had I had apprised you the need for us to make some amendments to the composed committees. So if it finds favor with you, I think we can quickly do that. I'm going to make this application to you if we can quickly do that before we proceed. Because we got the estimate are going to be considered by the various committees. And we have instances where some members belong to only a committee, which is in breach of Order 208. So if you may permit me, let's do those amendments before we proceed to take the questions.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Majority Leader.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, this was actually discussed, pre-seated, I think, the conclave. And I think the agreement was that it cannot be done, with the current vote and proceedings. So it will have to come as a motion. And that will be done tomorrow after putting the reports and lay it tomorrow. So I think suggestion is that we'll do that tomorrow. Thank you.
Very well.
Speaker, with respect to mine, you can appeal. No, that was not the decision. Speaker, the day the Right Honorable Speaker presided, check the records. When we were correcting the vote, the Right Honorable Speaker intentionally left out those pages which contain the committees. And the advice was that he's spoken to the two whips, and the agreement, we've reached the agreement that we'll find an appropriate day. We were supposed to take it yesterday, and the chief whip pleaded with me, and I acceded that we should make it today. So don't tell me I should come by a motion. No, leader, with respect to you. If it's by a motion, the speaker would have advised. Is it by a motion? We can correct it here, because we have given prior notification to the speaker, and the speaker himself had directed. Where from this your motion?
The vote and proceedings today and even yesterday, we've approved both. So you cannot do it through the vote and proceedings, Mr. Speaker. That is the whole idea, that we think the report should be put together. You do your amendment, and then tomorrow. Yes. So,
Honorable members, I guess the pages containing the composition of the committees has been left out because of certain irregularities that needed to be addressed by the leaders. I sense that the real composition is not ready. That is why they are seeking to do that for tomorrow. So, Minority Chief Whip, just bear with them so that tomorrow we effectively deal with the issue. And then I urge the Majority Chief Whip to also timely work on whatever corrections that needed to be done so that holistically we can take both sides tomorrow. Yes.
Speaker, we are amenable, no problem, but Hansard will bear me out that you said tomorrow. Let's stick to tomorrow. We don't want tomorrow comes and you say next week. I hope you won't do that. I hope you won't do that. Speaker, we are in agreement.
Well, I will also urge leaders to work on the delegations so that we can also take that tomorrow. Minority Chief Whip, please let's quickly work on the delegations and then the groups so that we can as well take that tomorrow. So, honourable members, we'll then come back to item number 6 on today's order paper and go to question number 40 in the name of Honourable Vincent Eko Asafwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would want to ask the Minister for Foreign Affairs the plans of the government to ensure the accessibility of the chip-embedded passport launched by the previous government on December 2nd, 2024.
Honourable Minister, you have the floor.
Most grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's an honor to appear before this House to respond to parliamentary questions. Right, Mr. Speaker, Ghana's journey with chip-embedded passport began in 2010, where biometric passports were introduced, which should have featured a microchip embedded with the holder's biometric data, including fingerprint and facial recognition. But chip aspect was left out during the production. The plan to include chip was reactivated in 2016, but could not take place. Mr. Speaker, since it was a laudable idea to introduce chip in our passports, the previous administration in 2018 established Passport Chip Embedded Implementation Committee to ensure that the new passport is birth. So they farmed out a portion to a private partner under a PPP arrangement. The introduction of the chip-embedded passport aligns with the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, standards, specifically ICAO Document 9303, which provides guidelines for implementing machine-readable travel documents and e-passports. This modernization effort is designed to enhance border security, reduce identity fraud, and streamline international travel for our citizens. Right, Honourable Speaker, to ensure accessibility for all eligible citizens, the government has developed a comprehensive implementation strategy inspired by best practices from other African nations that have successfully rolled out chip-embedded passports, including Ghana, Kenya, and Nigeria. The strategies include the following key measures. 1. Decentralization of passport enrollment and issuance. 9 out of the 16 regions currently have passport offices. The office of the Upper East region, that's Bogatanga, is expected to become operational later this year. The government intends to expand passport application centers to the remaining 6 outstanding regions. Those are the newly created regions, ensuring that citizens do not have to travel long distances to apply for their passports. For our citizens outside Ghana, all Ghanaian embassies and consulates are equipped to provide similar services to our compatriots abroad. Mobile passport application centers are also utilized to provide door-to-door passport services to Ghanaian communities abroad. Additionally, mobile biometric registration units can be deployed to remote locations to facilitate enrollment for those who may face challenges accessing passport offices. As honorable members may attest, my ministry recently established a studio here in Parliament to process diplomatic passports for members of Parliament. Enhance digital services for convenience. Right, Honourable Speaker, we are currently, as part of our ongoing passport reforms, integrating an online passport application system, payment and appointment to allow for citizens to initiate their applications from anywhere, reducing congestion at our passport offices. A passport application tracking system will also be introduced to keep applicants informed about the process of their applications. The system will be linked to the National Identification Authority database so that all personal information of applicants is transferred automatically directly onto the NIA system to the passport office system via the confirmation of the Ghana card number and biometric verification. Any changes to personal information such as name, date of birth, or place of birth will be done at the NIA through an update of records with appropriate documents. Right, Honourable Speaker, a nationwide sensitization campaign will be launched this month to educate the public on the benefits security features, and application processes for the new passport. Special focus will be placed on engaging communities in rural areas and vulnerable groups to ensure that they are not left behind. Affordability and phased implementation. Right, Honourable Speaker, the government recognizes concerns about the affordability of the new passport and is committed to ensuring that the cost remains reasonable while maintaining high security standards. In our efforts to make passports more accessible to all Ghanaians and per instructions I have received from His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, we are pleased to announce a reduction in the cost of the ordinary passport booklet, that is the 32-page booklet, from the 500 Ghana cedis to 350 Ghana cedis. We will in the coming days be presenting an amendment to the fees and charges to ensure that this reduction is approved by the House from 500 Ghana cedis down to 350 Ghana cedis. That is the new policy position of the Mahama administration. I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, you might have read that a passport reform committee has been set up to study and review the contract which we inherited. That review is underway, and indeed all the partners are meeting tomorrow to conclude the exercise of the review. When the review of the contract is done, we will move into a phased-out rollout of the chip-embedded passports, and we expect a smooth transition from the current biometric passports to the chip-embedded passports. It is useful, Mr. Speaker, to add that we are also introducing a 24-hour passport service. The 24-hour passport service will also come with a door-to-door delivery, ensuring greater convenience, efficiency, and customer satisfaction. Applicants can now apply at any time during the day, including outside the regular working hours, and have their passports delivered securely to their doorstep, eliminating the need for in-person collection. We think that in the 21st century, when you apply for your passport and you indicate that you want it delivered to you, courier services should be able to deliver to you. You don't have to go through the stress of going back to the passport application center. So Ghanaians are going to have their passports delivered to them at locations of their choice once they indicate during the application where they want their passports delivered. Mr. Speaker, applicants must provide accurate addresses and contact details to facilitate a seamless delivery. In partnership with reputable courier providers, the Ministry guarantees secure and reliable passport distribution. The Ministry remains committed to enhancing accessibility and efficiency in passport services for all citizens. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, through these measures, the government remains committed to ensuring that the chip-embedded passport is accessible, efficient, and beneficial to all citizens, in line with international best practices and our national development agenda. So by the month of April, next month, within the month of April, the good people of Ghana can expect a seamless transition from the current passports to chip-embedded passports within the month of April. That is the full assurance I can give to honorable members. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Any supplementary question?
Honorable Speaker, let me thank the Minister for a well-researched answer, except to add another question to it. Honorable Minister, I hold in my hands the committee report of the Foreign Affairs on the 2024 budget estimates of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. In that report, there was a proposal for the review of the passport fees, which proposal indicated that the cost of producing a passport is 400 Ghana cedis. The cost of producing a 32-page passport is 400 Ghana cedis. On this floor, you have indicated that the amount, or if you like, the price of the 500 Ghana cedis that is paid for a passport is to be reduced to 350 Ghana cedis. How are you going to make up for the loss of the 50 Ghana cedis? And per my indication, I do not see budget lines to take up that 50 Ghana cedis that you are reducing it to. Can you let this House know how you are going to deal with the 50 Ghana cedis?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
I'm grateful, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to respond to the Honourable Asafua's supplementary question. As ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee at the time, I recall that we asked for details, for evidence of the supposed government subsidy at the time. We did not receive it. Having gone to the ministry, I still haven't seen evidence that we were subsidizing passports. Some figures were put out, but there was no supporting evidence. And the work we have done with our colleagues at the ministry, we are confident that the 350 Ghana cedis will not put us in any indebtedness. There will be no loss to the state. We will not be causing financial loss and will not require subsidies. We will not have to subsidize. And don't forget that this 350 cedis is still an increment from the previous 100 Ghana cedis at the time that this PPP arrangement was negotiated. So we have seen a jump from 100 cedis to 500 cedis the last time the increment occurred. And you recall that my position at the time as ranking member is that having one increment, such a quantum leap from 100 cedis to 500 cedis, was just unconscionable, and it was too draconian. And you could tell that the Ghanaian people have not received this well. There's been a lot of considerable agitation across the length and breadth of our country. And as MPs, we can all confirm our constituents are complaining about the high increment from 100 to 500. That is why the new Mahama administration is saying that we have listened to Ghanaians. We want to make our passports more affordable. When we make it affordable, we believe that Ghanaians will even access it more, and there will be an eventual benefit, a win-win situation for all. So be assured that there will be no indebtedness, there will be no need for subsidies, and there will be no shortfall requiring an allocation in the budget. The 350 cedis is a good reduction that the good people of Ghana deserve. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any further supplementary question?
Right Honourable Speaker, I am quite surprised to hear from the Minister that there's no basis or no documentation to support the 400 Ghana cedis that has been stated in a committee report, a committee that he was the ranking member to. But I will not litigate it. But the impression I'm getting here is that the 400 Ghana cedis that was given
Honorable Asafua, you are to ask a supplementary question.
By the passport office is not something that has any basis. That is the indication we are getting in this house. But I will go on with my second question. My second question to the Honourable Minister is from his own answer. The basis is from his own answer. If you check paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, paragraph 9, you said, additionally, mobile biometric registration units can be deployed to remote locations to facilitate enrollment for those who may face challenges accessing passport offices. As honourable members may attest, your ministry recently established a studio here in Parliament to process passports for members of Parliament. My question to you is, with respect to persons who are in urgent need of passport, who may be found in our various hospitals, what are your plans to deal with such requests? Are you going to collaborate with the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Service, so that it will not be an issue of whom you know? I am hearing that there are some persons who will be in need of passports at a time, and they may not be able to get any support from the passport office, because the passport office will tell them that even with the mobile facilities, they may have to go to a certain point. How are you going to deal with the Ministry of Health to be able to make sure that such persons can be supported or assisted to be able to get the passport, even at the hospitals?
I'm grateful, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to respond to Honourable Asafua's second supplementary question. It's a very important question on the mobile services that the Passport Office is currently rendering. And Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that you'll be happy to hear that apart from the deployment we did recently for members of Parliament, there is currently ongoing, as we speak, a special deployment we have done at the Hajj village. Our Muslim brothers and sisters who have to perform that important pillar of Islam, they don't have to stress to go to the passport application centers. We have set up an application center for them at the Hajj village. And so it's another evidence of the reforms and the dynamism that we are introducing. For people who need urgent passports on medical grounds, as the Honourable Asafua has raised, I want to draw attention to the fact that as part of the services that the Passport Office carries out, is a service known as expedited service. So for those with emergencies, those who probably medical emergency, business emergency, a student who has to meet a timeline, we have in the structure of the services that the Passport Office renders what is known as expedited service. You pay a little more, and then you can have your passport within the same week. So that expedited service is available, and we will urge. I think that sometimes it's probably lack of public education, public awareness. So we are intensifying that so that Ghanaians would know, nurses, doctors who are attending to these patients who may have to fly them out can make themselves available for this service. So we have the expedited service which takes care of emergencies, and that is available in those circumstances. In terms of whether we can create an avenue where these expedited services can be made mobile and relocated to hospitals, because you are not too sure where the emergency call will come from, I think that it's better for us to maintain the expedited arrangement so that once you call and there's evidence that this is a medical emergency, then our people will respond promptly. And I can tell you that the Passport Office is doing very well. Our staff there, they are very responsive. There was an expedited case this week. One of our colleagues needed a passport done the same day, within 24 hours. And our colleague can confirm that we were able to do that. Our Passport Office is really delivering, and they are very efficient. And so I think that the emergencies that our people will require in those times, they can rely on the expedited service to solve those problems. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Asafua, your last supplementary question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I must commend the Minister. This is a huge relief for persons who sometimes on medical grounds suffer to be able to attain passport, except to add that when such requests come, we have to find a way where Ghana Health Service will have a role to play, so that even if you don't know anybody in political office, you would be able to be attended to. My last question to you stems from the committee report in 2022 of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, the Foreign Affairs Committee, the 2022 annual budget estimates of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. And item number 14.2, chip embedded passport. I'll read the second paragraph. The committee was informed that the project will be executed in partnership with a private company within a 10-year period, and the total cost of rolling out the project for the first year is $23 million. The profit sharing structure for the first 4 years is 30% for government and 70% for the private entity. For the subsequent 6 years, it is expected to be 35% for government and 65% for the private entity. The weighted average cost of the capital is rated at 9.75%. So, Minister, my question to you is that at least this is the terms of the contract that is existing. In the event that you finally roll out the chip-embedded passport, maybe somewhere around this year, are you going to maintain these terms of the contract between the government and the private sector? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I did say in my response to an earlier question that the contract is currently under review, and we have a crucial meeting tomorrow. I'm very transparent. I have indicated that I think that we can do something about those terms, and the government of Ghana can be in a better position than what has been earlier negotiated. Because we have not concluded the review, but we are pushing towards better terms for government. As it is now, it's skewed 70-30, 60-40 in favor of the private investors. But we are reviewing and pushing for better terms. So since we have not concluded, I do not want to preempt the negotiations. But just to say that we are fighting hard in the national interest for some better terms for the government and people of Ghana. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Patrick Yabong, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, in your answer, you spoke about the principles of reasonability and affordability as the driving force to your quest to reduce the passports from 500 Ghana cedis to 350 Ghana cedis, subject to an amendment to the Fees and Charges and Miscellaneous Act that the Minister of Finance will be presenting to this House. But you cannot, Mr. Speaker, my question is, the Minister cannot review the contract without the Attorney General's involvement. Two, what I know, Mr. Minister, is that a transaction advisor has been requested by you, by your ministry, to provide scenarios for the extension of the contract under which is being operated from 10 to 12 years to give you an indication whether you can take care of their losses or their profitability levels. One, because you haven't seen the scenarios. Two, you are going to be looking at the operating cost, maintenance cost, the software and staff and other resources that the PPP arrangement has put in place. So my question to you is that you not having gone through the scenarios, not a review, how sure are you that you are telling the good people of this country the truth, that you want to reduce passport price from 500 cedis to Ghana, 350 Ghana?
Honourable Minister.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the number of issues Patrick Boama raised, the review of the contract, I can assure the Honorable Patrick Boama that certainly the Attorney General's opinion will be sought. At this point, we are negotiating, and certainly the Attorney General, I've told you that it's under review. We have not concluded. I made that point clear, that we have not concluded the review. Once we conclude, it will be sent to the Attorney General for the Attorney General's final advice. On pricing, I can assure you that we have spoken with the transaction advisor and we've looked at all the modeling. So when you work on the fees, it will have some possible impact on the duration of the PPP arrangement. So we have analyzed all of that. But the firm assurance I can give you is that what we'll be presenting to this House, the fees and charges amendment, you will see a reduction from 500 to 350. That we have agreed. We are not compromising on that. And it is a fait accompli. Nothing is going to change about the fees. What may change in the review process is the duration. Do you do 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, 13 years? But as for the pricing, you know, because there are two factors. Once you hold one constant, the price, the 350 cedis, you have flexibility to deal with the other factor. So you can be well assured. You can be well assured. As for 350 cedis, we are not compromising. We are not compromising on that aspect. We are here for the Ghanaian people, and we must ameliorate their plight. Thank you very much.
Honorable Member for Kumbugu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. And then let me commend the Minister for tackling the challenges of the passport industry head on. My quick question is, what plans do you have to decentralize the passport services at the district level?
Well, thank you very much. Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the plan now is to regionalize and make sure we have passport application centers in all the 16 regions of Ghana. We do not currently have plans to have district offices. We take the view that the reforms we are carrying out, the delivery, the 24-hour operations, reducing the waiting period and all of that, should suffice. Once you have regional offices, the courier service will make sure that your passport is delivered to you wherever you are in the region. So we do not think that it will be good use of taxpayer resources to say we are going to be building district offices. We think that the regional offices should be enough. It should suffice so that the courier services will then carry out the remaining legwork, make sure that you get your passport in good time. So for now, we don't think that it is prudent use of taxpayer funds to say we are going to build district offices across our 276 districts or constituencies in Ghana. We just want to build the regional passport application centers and then do the mobile delivery through courier service. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much.
Honorable former Minister.
Okay. Okay, I would like to know from the Minister when you start printing the booklets in the regions instead of only in Accra.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important question. The contract I have seen so far, the printing is centralized, even for those outside the country, our missions abroad, they have to rely on Accra, the headquarters, for the printing. Because it's a security document and because it's chip embedded, how sensitive it is, I have been told by the experts that it is advisable that it remains centralized. But what we should do is to strengthen the delivery network so that once it's printed, it can be delivered across the country and then to our compatriots abroad using our embassies in an efficient manner. So since the experts have advised that we should keep the printing centralized, I want to go with that. And I think that what we should now focus on is to make sure that the delivery is done in good time, so that particularly those who may need expedited service, they do not have challenges, so that they can get their passports in good time when they require them. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I'll give the floor to Honorable Francis Xavier Soso.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the answers of the Honorable Minister, he has justified the major policy shift from 500 cedis cost of passports to 350 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, I would want the Minister to elaborate what may have, what factors really justified this major policy shift, because changing the price of passports from 500 to 350 is a major one. Would we lose revenue by doing that, or are we going to get more revenues by doing that? If the Minister could elaborate what factors led to this major shift in the change of prices. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the overarching factor is affordability. We have received numerous complaints from the good people of this country about the high fees. And you recall there was quite an uproar and an outrage when the new fees came into effect. And so we are responding to the concerns of the people as a listening government. The analysis we have done in terms of the cost to the country, we believe that with this reduction, many more people are going to now apply for passports and renew their passports. And ultimately, looking at the figures, it will rather bring in more revenue. So we are not going to have revenue losses at all. On the contrary, because it's going to lead to an uptick, many more Ghanaians are now who are staying away. And so we're not getting the numbers as anticipated. We now are going to have higher volumes. And with these higher volumes, we would rather rake in more revenue for our country. So we've done the analysis, and it's a win-win situation. We'll benefit in terms of the national coffers, and then the affordability concerns of Ghanaians will also have been addressed. So I don't see any loser in this equation. Even for the private partners, they would also eventually find this beneficial, because it will also increase their profit margins. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Minority Chief Whip. Minority Chief Whip, you have the floor. Leadership should wind up. We have two more questions.
Speaker, let me take the minister back to parts of his own answers, I think paragraph 5. As answers to question 45, introducing 24-hour passport services with door-to-door delivery. Speaker, the minister do know that the government is yet to bring a policy on the 24-hour economy to Parliament. I am also aware, up to this stage, we don't have a definite explanation what the 24-hour economy is all about. In fact, then candidate John Mahama says the 24-hour economy is not compulsory. My question to the minister is, now that we don't have a definite policy, what are you anchoring your 24-hour passport delivery on? Because we don't have a definite policy yet. We are told they are yet to bring it to Parliament. So what are you anchoring this on? And he also mentioned expedited action or services. And he says the reason for the reduction is for affordability. But he also says the expedited service would have to be paid for. Why won't government be absolute in terms of bearing costs if you are reducing from 500 to 300, 300 plus or 300? And then on the expedited service delivery, you are saying that people have to bear the cost. Is it a question of you picking and choosing or not sure of what to do?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Well, I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Minority Chief Whip will agree with me when I say that there is a recent example that they have demonstrated in this country. They implemented free SHS successfully without a policy and a law. And after many years, they came here a few weeks ago before the elections of 2024. They came to this house saying that they want us to support them with a law, long after they have implemented. So that scenario teaches us that it is very possible to implement government programs without a policy blueprint or without a law. It is very, very possible. So there is no need to say that you haven't seen a policy or a blueprint, and so we cannot go ahead with our 24-hour services. Your own example teaches us that. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, I can assure the Honorable Minority Chief Whip that very soon you are going to see the 24-hour blueprint. It's a very, very exciting policy. The TUC has called it a game changer. AGI is excited about 24-hour. And we don't know what is complex about 24 hours. Ghanaians working 3 shifts, increasing productivity, creating more jobs for our people. It's as simple as that. It is as simple as that. It is as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And Mr. Speaker, I can assure you that the Passport Office will implement the 24-hour operation very successfully. The second aspect of your question to do with expedited service. For expedited service is really a service that is in the fees and charges arrangement already for those who want to pay more. Normally for entrepreneurs, business moguls, and it is even those who want a fatter booklet, probably the 48 pages, they normally utilize that service. And once you are paying more, you are getting more pages, and you are getting your passports less than 3 days. I believe that it's good if you pay a little more for the premium service. So we are not discriminating at all. It is those in the elite category who feel that they have the means to pay for more, they are using that service. But you know, under the 24-hour service, once we roll it out, you can get your passport within a week, within 5 days. I'm sure that there wouldn't even be any difference really between getting your ordinary passports and then going for expedited service. So this is a clear confirmation that the 24-hour policy is a game changer. It works and it's in the benefit of the people. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Deputy Majority Leader. Deputy Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, no question at all.
Honourable members, we proceed to ask question number 63, standing in the name of Honourable Frank Asiedu Bakwin. So whom?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I'd like to know from the Minister, how Ghana intends to reconcile the new alliance of Sahel states, AES, with ECOWAS, taking into cognizance the foreign policy of Ghana, i.e. Pan-Africanism, good neighborliness, and non-alignment and multilateralism. Thank you.
Well, Right Honourable Speaker, I want to commend the Honourable Member for this very important question. We are the pioneers of a united Africa, and our people form a cardinal part of our foreign policy. We are also founding members of ECOWAS, and that is why this year the heads of state have decided that the ECOWAS at 50 celebrations should start here in Accra, and it will be launched next month to herald the ECOWAS at 50 celebrations. We also have to be cognizant of the fact that Article 40 of the 1992 Constitution enjoins us that in pursuit of our international relations, we should promote and protect the national interest of Ghana, and that is the foundation, the principle that guides our foreign policy. Mr. Speaker, the evolving relationship between the ECOWAS and the newly formed Alliance of Sahel States, AES, is a matter of great significance to the sub-region. Ghana remains firmly committed to the ideals of regional unity, peace, security, and economic cooperation. Ghana recognizes the need for diplomatic engagement to bridge the current divide and prevent further fragmentation within West Africa. Despite the AES country's formal withdrawal from ECOWAS, which was finalized at the end of January 2025, free movement of people, goods, and services remains intact. As confirmed by both ECOWAS and AES member states, trade under the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme continues, and AES passports remain recognized. Additionally, ECOWAS-funded development projects in AES countries will not be disrupted, ensuring continued economic and infrastructural support. Security cooperation remains a shared priority, particularly in the fight against terrorism, violent extremism, and money laundering. The Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, of which Ghana is a member, will maintain its collaboration with AES nations. AES countries have already applied for a 6-month extension to formalize their GIABA membership processes. ECOWAS has also granted AES nations a 6-month grace period until July 2025 to reconsider their decision to leave, with the ECOWAS Commissioner for Peace and Security urging them to explore the possibility of rejoining as a bloc. Diplomatic engagements between ECOWAS and AES are ongoing to facilitate cooperation and potential reintegration. You may recall, Mr. Speaker, that Ghana's foreign policy has always been guided by the principles of Pan-Africanism, good neighborliness, non-alignment, and multilateralism. These values continue to shape the country's approach as we work to restore trust, foster reconciliation, and promote a common vision for regional development and stability. Mr. Speaker, I have outlined in greater detail the building blocks for these ideals. And for the sake of time, I will ask that Hansard captures all of these principles and how they have been further expatiated upon. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's role as a bridge in regional unity. Ghana remains fully committed to peace, security, and economic prosperity in West Africa. His Excellency President John Dramani Mahamad's diplomatic outreach to the Sahel states and his engagements with key leaders in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali reflects Ghana's dedication to fostering dialogue, rebuilding trust, and preventing further division within the sub-region. Ghana will therefore continue to champion dialogue, economic cooperation, and security collaboration among all West African nations. The sub-region's future must be built on partnership, not division, cooperation, not conflict. Ghana will therefore work closely with our brothers and sisters in the AES to rebuild trust, restore good neighborliness, and reaffirm our commitment to a stronger, united West Africa. Ghana stands ready to serve as a bridge for reconciliation and cooperation. Given Ghana's diplomatic influence, it is well positioned to support renewed dialogue and encourage collaboration between ECOWAS and AES nations. As a nation committed to Pan-Africanism, good neighborliness, regional integration, and multilateralism, Ghana will continue to champion constructive engagement, economic cooperation, and security collaboration, ensuring a stable and prosperous future for all West African nations. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Any supplementary?
Sure. I would like to know from the Minister, the previous administration instituted the Accra Initiative. What the Accra Initiative aims to prevent the spillover of terrorism from these Sahel states and to address transnational organized crimes and violent extremism. With the appointment of a new envoy to the AES from Ghana, what is the fate of the Accra Initiative?
Honourable Minister.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member is right that the Accra Initiative is a very strategic intervention that was carried out by the former administration. Ghana spearheaded it, but got 7 other countries to come on board, largely as a security and intelligence gathering platform to fight violent extremism and to also carry out counter-terrorism because of the threat of insecurity coming down south from the Sahel, particularly after the overthrow of Gaddafi in Libya. The challenge with the Accra Initiative now has been funding and the commitment of member countries to fully support this. There are some countries that are quite hesitant in welcoming the platform and working with the Accra Initiative. But I can assure you that we remain open to any intervention which will be a multilateral intervention, bringing all our international partners on board, because the threat of terrorism, extremism, money laundering is not a threat that only one country can handle. You need all your international partners to come on board, to work with you to combat that and defeat that. If you go in isolation, you will not succeed. You need a concerted multilateral approach. So we remain open to that initiative and that approach. That really is how to fight these global threats. Having said that, the appointment of the special envoy, Lieutenant Colonel Larry Bevlo Latte, is not to undermine the work of the Accra Initiative. Rather, that will help to enhance the prospects. It is to create a channel of dialogue so that we can pay particular attention to these AES countries, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. And because we are the closest neighbor, and we need to make sure that we are not overtaken by events, the extremism going there, the terrorism that is taking large parts of that country. The president, in his wisdom, thought that we should have a special envoy so that we can have a dedicated, effort at bridging the gap, making sure that we keep talking. Because remember that even ECOWAS has a special envoy dealing with these AES countries, trying to, negotiate with them, dialogue with them to get them back into the fold. So as a closest neighbor with all the historical ties, same ethnic groups and trade, our truck drivers on a daily basis traveling to and fro, and there's free movement of people. We need to keep engaging, and that is why the special envoy has been appointed. But have our fullest assurances that his work will not undermine the Accra Initiative. It will also not undermine efforts of the government and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to make sure that we keep engaging with these countries. To suffice, it will rather enhance all of these objectives so that we can work together to achieve continental African unity, which remains the dream of all of us, right from our founding fathers.
Any further supplementary?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Last week, I saw the Honorable Minister and the President in these three Sahelian states. I would like to know from the Minister, what really has the President done to assure Ghana and ECOWAS that these trials will come back to ECOWAS in the shortest possible time?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the matter the Honourable Bequin has raised is a matter that requires a lot of circumspection, a lot of tact, and a lot of diplomacy. These three member countries are entitled to their own self-determination. They are sovereign countries. Another president cannot come from another country and dictate to them, tell them what to do. So we have to be very careful. I think that the approach of the president really is to keep the dialogue channels open, to keep engaging, and as the engagements continue, and we all see that it's better to work together instead of going alone, and that there is much more we can achieve when we are together and united. I'm sure that a roadmap will evolve towards the hopes and aspirations that we are all seeking. That ultimately, I think that will help us to achieve the democratic ethos that we all want to see within these countries. But because of the principles of sovereignty, of self-determination, I think that we should accord those three countries that, and then ECOWAS should continue to engage. The president's good relations, right from his investiture when they attended, and he going back there this week to thank them and to continue to engage at a bilateral level. I think now ECOWAS has an opportunity in President Mahama, because they said it when he visited, that he's the first non-AES president to come visit and to receive such, a reception. So I think ECOWAS and the AU can now leverage on that opportunity that President Mahama has provided to keep the dialogue channels open, even as we all concede that they have their sovereignty and they have their right to respect, and we must respect their right to self-determination and all of that. But I think that the prospects are good, they are looking positive, and it's good that Ghana is giving the continent that hope and that channel of dialogue. And I think that it gives us that great advantage that we need to move forward with the dialogue.
Honourable Member, the last supplementary question.
Last but not least, thank you, Mr. Speaker. In all these enterprise, where did Ghana and ECOWAS go wrong? As far as the moving away by the AES from the ECOWAS is concerned, where did Ghana and ECOWAS go wrong? Did we do anything bad that spoiled the relationship between ECOWAS and these three countries? Did ECOWAS and Ghana do anything bad?
No, Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I said, these are sovereign countries taking their own decisions, their right to self-determination, and their right to chart whatever path that they consider to be in their national interest. So I don't think it is a matter of who may have done a wrong thing or who may have carried out any misstep. At this point, I think that we should not pursue a path of blame games. Let us open a fresh page and let us commit to dialoguing, to working together, and being guided that when we come together, I mean, ECOWAS, when we are together, we're talking about a market of about 400 million, and if we decide to trade amongst ourselves, if we decide to really go back to the ECOWAS protocols and create opportunities for our young people, I mean, the potential is enormous and is really boundless. So at this point, I would not want us to engage in any game. Let's
Yes, country's formal withdrawal from ECOWAS, which was formalized at the end of January 2025. Free movement and placed emphasis on free movement of people, goods, and services remain intact, as confirmed by ECOWAS and the AES member states. As you may be aware, Honorable Minister, the only protocol allowing ECOWAS members to stay in Ghana was signed in 2014 in Abuja by President John Mahama. And that means that if you are an ECOWAS passport holder, you can stay in Ghana without looking for the normal 3 months visas and renewing and that kind of stuff. In fact, Honorable Minister, you are also aware that ECOWAS released a statement saying member states should recognize their passports, that the AES member countries, the passports that they are holding. That means that it applies to the 2014 protocol. Are you saying that if an individual is holding an AES passport, that person is allowed to stay in Ghana and enjoy the rights that an ECOWAS member enjoys, even though he's not holding the ECOWAS passport? Is that what you are saying?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Nitiwo has raised a matter about passports. That's why I said at the beginning of my response that we have always been pioneers for a united Africa, for full integration. We want a borderless region where all these artificial borders from the Berlin Conference will be removed so that you can move freely. We espoused this 1975 and even earlier. 1975, ECOWAS was formed. Even much earlier, Kwame Nkrumah's vision, Africa must unite. So we take the view that it is consistent with those ideals to just respect all of these passports and consider the fact that these are fundamentally our brothers and sisters. They are already here with us. We belong to the same ethnic group, you know, and even without the AES passport, if they are to use ECOWAS passports, they are allowed free movement to come into Ghana and to be here, you know, as long as they want to be here. So we are in a period of transition, of talking to each other, of dialoguing, and there is even a suggestion recently by the ECOWAS to even get the AES to join ECOWAS as a bloc, not as individual member countries. That is the latest, you know, offer that has been made to AES, which they are considering. And that is a strong possibility. From what we are gathering, they will even prefer that, to rejoin ECOWAS as a bloc than as individual, you know, countries, separate countries. So I think that consistent with our ideals and our, you know, status as founding fathers of regional integration, I think we should be open to them, and that is our approach now. But let's keep negotiating, let's keep talking, and let us unite. There is more as that we stand to gain as united countries than dividing our ranks. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Minister is communicating.
Honorable Member, how many supplementary questions are you entitled to? You know the rules.
No,
you know the rules.
But Mr. Speaker, is
Honorable Member, you know the rules.
I know. But Mr. Speaker, he's communicating to immigration officers. This is a serious matter.
Honorable Nitiwood, you know the rules.
Thank
so
you.
Let's go by the rules.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll give it
to
somebody
to answer.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. To the Honorable Minister, considering the position taken by the government, I want to know how Ghana intends to advocate for good governance and democratic principles within the AES whilst maintaining our commitment to ECOWAS, considering there is...
Colleague, Ghana remains committed to good governance, to the ideals of the rule of law, the rule-based order, opening dialogue, and serving as a bridge for unity. We are not, in our considered opinion, undermining these principles. Rather, we are taking advantage of these principles to have a united Africa and to have a roadmap towards full democratization, which should evolve with time. So we take the view that it is in our strategic national interest to keep engaging. We shouldn't, because of these democratic values, say that we will not engage them. We must keep engaging, and with our model, with the example that they see in us, it will help with their own transition onto a democratic path. So that is the strategy we have adopted. We think that this ultimately will help in the restoration of the democratic order in those three countries.
Honorable John Darko, then I'll come to leadership.
Honorable Minister, following from that, I would like to find out, first of all, whether we have that clear roadmap and whether we have that clear roadmap to democratization. In your earlier submission, you mentioned that the engagement with these AES member states, you've seen that the prospects are very good. And clearly, I want to understand, when you say the prospects are good, do you mean that they have now agreed to lay down their arms and now to take the path of democratization?
Honorable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the honourable colleague has asked a very important question. When I talk about the prospects being good, let's remember where we have come from. We have come from a point where nobody could engage, no leader could be given access, none of the neighbors of these AES countries could even be entertained, be allowed to come speak with them and all of that. To where we are now, where President Mahama has been given access, he has been granted audience, and dialogue has opened, engagements are going on. So you can see a marked departure from where we are. And those are signs that the prospects are good. And as the dialogue channels remain open, then we can begin discussions about how we trade better, how we lift some of the initial blockades that they imposed towards also eventually a democratic transition and all of that. So that's what I mean by the prospects are good. If you take into cognizance where we have come from, what the situation was. I mean, this is the first time that they are opening up to a president outside the AES bloc. And so that's what I mean by the prospects being good. And I am quite confident that as these negotiations go on, next week, President Mahama will be in Nigeria to discuss. President Tinubu has asked for a report on how things have gone. They are all quite excited about the dialogue channels that have been opened. He will be presenting a report to the ECOWAS leader, and then ECOWAS will be acting on that. So I think that it's better. You remember what happened? There was a time that even an ECOWAS emissary was returned. He was asked to go back, that they were not going to talk to him. So I think that we are making progress, no matter how small, but in diplomacy, it can take a long time, but at least we can count a few successes, and I think that it gives a good opening towards a full democratization of the sub-region. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, leadership. Very well, Honorable Aframpong.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to find out from the minister if what he's telling us that these citizens from these countries, Saharan countries, holding the passports of that organization, can come and stay in Ghana without going through the ECOWAS protocols. Is he telling us that this thing, he has the authority of the president to say this to us in Parliament? Is that the official position? That's what I want to find out. Is that the official position?
Honorable Minister.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me be clear. I have said that there is already a lot of free movement. I have said that ECOWAS has not placed any ban on any national of whether ECOWAS or if you are from the AES bloc. You are allowed to travel. You can travel into Ghana, travel into Nigeria, and that is already going on. And we have heard about the prospects of an AES passport. That has not yet been done. They have not yet outlawed that AES passport. But for now, our immigration officials know that they can admit people from Burkina Faso, from Mali, from Niger. They can come into Ghana. They are free to travel. You know, yeah, ECOWAS passport, if it's whatever, Niger passport, Mali passport. But the AES passport has not yet been outlawed. That is not existing. It's not existing now. So that question doesn't arise. But you can't stop a fellow, you know, ECOWAS national from Burkina Faso, from Mali, from Niger. They are allowed to enter into our country. They are also allowed, you know, to travel anywhere within ECOWAS. ECOWAS has not stopped them from traveling and from taking advantage of the free movement protocols. So that's the clarity that I want to provide.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable member, you also know the rule. You also know the rule. So kindly resume your seat. Leadership.
Thank you.
Very well, very well. The leader is yielding to you.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You see, to avoid any confusion on our borders, that's why I'm probing into this matter seriously. Because if somebody is coming from any of these countries with their passport, holding their passports, so what do our immigration officers do when they show that passport? So to avoid that confusion, Mr. Minister, this matter shouldn't have been raised at all in Parliament here. Because if you mix it up with the ECOWAS passport, they are ECOWAS nationals, you agree, free movement, everything. But let us tread cautiously when we are dealing with this issue because of the nature of the situation we are dealing with. And mind you, these countries seriously under threat from rebel activities, insurgencies, and all that. So we need to be very, very careful as a country. Thank you.
So it's a suggestion that we should tread cautiously. Majority Leader. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I haven't got any question for that.
No, very well. We move to question number 64. Standing in the name of Honorable Frank Asedu Bakwi, Member of Parliament for Sum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the second opportunity. I am to ask the Foreign Minister whether the current government fully subscribes to Article 4M and 4P of the AU Constitutive Act, taking into account the relationship between the government and the current military leader in Burkina Faso. And Mr. Speaker, with your permission, if I can read the AU Constitutive Act.
Honorable Member, a question has been admitted, and you are to ask the question. So please go ahead and ask the question.
I'm done. Thank you. let me repeat it. I'm saying that I would like to ask the foreign minister whether the current government fully subscribes to the Article 4M and 4P of the AU Constitutive Act, taking into account the relationship between this government and the current military leader in Burkina Faso.
Honorable Minister.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Article 4 on the principles of the AU Constitutive Act states the Union shall function in accordance with the following principles. M, respect for democratic principles, human rights, the rule of law, and good governance. P, condemnation and rejection of unconstitutional changes of governments. The African Union position. As you may be aware, Mr. Speaker, the re-emergence of unconstitutional rule of governments in Africa has unfortunately been an occurrence in recent years, with military coups and takeovers gradually making a comeback on the continent. Africa continues to face the resurgence of political instability, which has caused a major setback to the efforts we have all made towards the achievement of Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. The African Union has been working towards the management of the incessant unconstitutional changes of governments in Africa by adopting a number of normative frameworks, such as the Constitutive Act of the AU 2000, the AU Protocol on Peace and Security, the Lome Declaration of July 2000, and the African Charter on Democracy, Election and Governance, 2007, amongst others. The normative frameworks and responses of the regional blocs and international organizations towards peace and stability in the continent continue to identify lapses, such as lack of conceptual clarity on the UCGs, varying application of sanctions and their outcomes, lack of a structured continental early warning mechanism for constitutional changes of governments, weak early response, insufficient human and financial resources, and weak coordination between the AU and the regional economic communities, amongst others, as contributing factors. To this end, the Africa Union Commission, in collaboration with the government of Ghana and the ECOWAS Commission, organized 2 sessions, the Accra Reflection Forum on unconstitutional changes of government in Africa in Ghana. Deliberations explored issues in the Constitutive Act and critically assessed its relevance for the process of democratization in Africa, taking into consideration the political atmosphere on the continent at the time. The fora, amongst others, resharpen the strategies to promote constitutionalism and the rule of law towards entrenching democracy and inclusive governance for the overall enhancement of peace, security, and stability in Africa. The sessions also offered an opportunity to review the latest developments, deepen reflection on the structural root causes and impact of the UCGs in Africa, and further review the continued relevance and effectiveness of various treaty-making frameworks at regional and continental levels, including the African Charter on Democracy, Elections, and Governance. In connection with the above, it is worth noting that Article 4E on Principles of the Constitutive Act of the AU states that the Union shall function in accordance to the following principle: peaceful resolution of conflicts among member states of the Union through such appropriate means as may be decided upon by the Assembly. In this regard, Ghana will continue to play a leading role in collective efforts to promote peace, stability, and economic development on the African continent. A principle of Ghana's foreign policy is to adhere to the principles of the charters, treaties, and international organizations such as UN, AU, ECOWAS, the non-aligned movement, of which Ghana is a member. Ghana upholds the AU principles, including opposition to unconstitutional changes in government. However, in Ghana's interactions with Burkina Faso, our national interest is, among others, focused on enhancing security cooperation in the Sahel and West African region to combat terrorism, cross-border crimes such as illicit trafficking, smuggling, drug trafficking, as well as to improve trade and strengthen existing bilateral ties. Ghana continues to promote and protect the interests of Ghanaian nationals living in these 3 countries. It is worth noting that trade relations, particularly in agriculture products, continue to flourish between our countries. There exist further areas of cooperation in sectors such as energy. Ghana intends to increase exports of electricity to Burkina Faso alongside enhancing the transit corridor for petroleum products. Burkina Faso recently acquired a fuel storage terminal, as both countries are considering extending existing pipeline from Bolgatanga to Ouagadougou to streamline fuel and diesel supply. The Volta River takes its source from the highlands of Bobo Dialoso in Burkina Faso. The river is crucial to both countries with regards to water supply, agriculture, irrigation, hydropower generation, and remains essential to the livelihoods of our peoples. Government is also considering the introduction of a direct Accra to Ouagadougou flight with an airline in Ghana showing interest. On the security and stability front, as you may be aware, terrorism threatens not only the Sahel region, but also countries further down the coast. Ghana, having recognized the imminent threat, places priority on strengthening existing ties to find collaborative solutions to address this pressing regional menace. As such, there is the need to continue dialogue and reconciliation between ECOWAS, AU, and the Alliance of Sahel States. It should be noted that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama appointed former National Security Coordinator Lieutenant Colonel Larry Bevlolate as Special Envoy to the Alliance of Sahelian States in this endeavor. The appointment demonstrates the President's commitment to prioritizing regional security and diplomacy. He will act as a liaison between the government of Ghana and the Alliance for Sahel States and formulate engagements with member states of ECOWAS and the African Union. Mr. Speaker, upon assumption of office, His Excellency the President of the Republic indicated his intention to engage in pragmatic ways with our neighbors, in this case Burkina Faso. This is the cardinal foreign policy objective of the Republic. Good neighborliness remains essential to sustaining the climate of peace and stability in the sub-region and maintaining cordial relations between Ghana and her neighbors as a means to address common challenges to development across national frontiers. Mr. Speaker, during the recent official visit of President John Dramani Mahama to Burkina Faso on 10th March 2025, His Excellency the President stressed the need to rebuild trust and foster dialogue to ease diplomatic strains between ECOWAS and the AES countries. This initiative aims to enhance trade, connectivity, and people-to-people relations between Ghana and Burkina Faso for the mutual benefit of its peoples. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Member, any supplementary question?
With the coming into office of this current administration through a democratic means, would the current government condemn the coup d'etats in these AES states that overthrew democratic governments?
Honorable Minister.
Well, thank you very much. Right Honorable Speaker, as I have emphasized all afternoon, we are in a very strategic period of dialogue, of engagements. We want to serve as a bridge. And when you are serving as a bridge, and already ECOWAS is looking up to Ghana, many of our nationals who are already traveling, moving, trading together want to see a united ECOWAS. You do not want to engage in blame game. You don't want to single out anybody for what may be perceived wrongly, and which will undermine our efforts at dialogue, at negotiations towards the aims and the objectives that we all want as a people, as a house. So I will recommend a different strategy. I do not think that what you are suggesting at this point will be helpful to the ongoing rapprochement, the engagements, and the dialogue that is ongoing. I think that we should remain on this path. This is a a part which is in our national interest and which will ultimately help our sub-region.
Any further supplementary question?
Yes, I submit that as a democratic country, we should not be seen to be encouraging coups in the sub-region. My next supplementary question is that, is there any cooperation between the AES, Russia, and the current government?
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, because the honorable member preceded his question with a remark, and this has been a house of records, let me state without any equivocation that the John Dramani Mahama administration will at no point be seen either overtly or covertly engaged in any effort that will undermine democracy. We remain committed to democracy, to the principles of rule of law, of good governance, and we want to state that for the record. And we will continue to be apostles and champions of democracy, particularly in the Africa region. Having said that, your substantive question about the role of Russia in AES and in Ghana, I can speak for Ghana. As Foreign Minister of Ghana, we are a non-aligned country. As we speak, we have diplomatic relations with Russia, with Ukraine, with the EU, with US, and with many other countries. There are some 73 and counting diplomatic missions here in Ghana. We also have diplomatic missions open in all of these countries, including Moscow, Kiev, and what have you. And we remain very cordial. What we have said is that we espouse the principles of self-determination, protection of sovereignty, and the rule-based order. So when our allies or friends violate this, we have been bold enough to criticize and to be principled in our position. That we will be unwavering. We will remain committed to the principles that we have always stood for. But remember that even under the previous administration, the Akufo-Addo government did not cut ties with Russia. There's still a Russian embassy here. They are operating. We have good relations with them. And our non-aligned posture, which allows us to be friends of all and enemies to none, will continue. I can confirm that. So in terms of the role of other countries, what I know is that we are pursuing our strategic national interests. No other sovereign will determine for us what is our national interest or will dictate to us. Nobody will dictate to us. So what we are pursuing is our national interest, and that I can confirm strongly.
Honourable Member, your last supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Honourable Bakwin, hold it.
Mr. Speaker, before his last supplementary question, just an observation. Mr. Speaker, and with utmost respect to you, if you look at the chamber at the moment, on their side, Mr. Speaker, there are 40, which is about 21%. We are 26, which is 30% of our number. Mr. Speaker, I just want to urge you, and so that you will talk to the majority side. The minister responsible for finance is here to present and first reading of 8 important bills. and it is just about 21% of them that are in the chamber. It doesn't speak well of us, and we need to take government business serious. Mr. Speaker, tell them not to shout, because I'm not raising quorum, I'm drawing. Mr. Speaker, so I just want to urge the front bench that they should bring their numbers in, so that we'll take business serious, so that we can proceed on what we are doing. Rather than that, it doesn't. Mr. Speaker, as I rightly said, the majority side, they are 187. At the moment, they are 40, which is 21% of their number. We are 88, I have counted, and we are 26 now, which is 30% of our number. It doesn't make seats. So for that matter, they should try and come in there, so that the finance minister's important bills and first presentation and first reading, it can be done. Rather than that, Mr. Speaker, it doesn't speak well of this House. It doesn't speak well of this House, and we don't take our business, especially the majority side. It doesn't speak well of you, that you have 187 and you are less than 40 in the chamber. Mr. Speaker, with respect, I think you should direct the minority side so that they bring their numbers in, and then we can continue with the business. That is my prayer to you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Honorable Member, your last supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will rise to ask the minister what informed the invitation, what informed the invitation of the Burkinabe military ruler to the president's inauguration. I'm saying what informed the invitation of the Burkinabe ruler, military ruler, to the president's investiture.
Honorable Member, your question is what? Minister, hold on. Minister, hold on.
I am asking the minister what informed the invitation of the Burkinabe military ruler to the president's investiture.
Honorable Minister, the question is accordingly overruled. Honorable members, the attention has been drawn to an absence of a quorum. I would urge the majority from bench to do the needful. Yes. Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving some directives to the majority front bench. The minority leadership is concerned, and those concerns were earlier raised by the Deputy Minority Whip. A parliament with a majority of 187 cannot only be majority on ceremonial days, cannot be majority only on ceremonial days. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I watched the swearing in for the deputy ministers and a minister of state. A lot of the MPs on the majority front bench were at the Jubilee House. They were there, it was all over on the TV. Your business is in this chamber, not Jubilee. Mr. Speaker, it is very important. It is very important. I saw a lot of them. I watched the TV and I can produce evidence, show you the video evidence. Mr. Speaker, you being in majority is not only by words, but by your action, your own attitude towards your own government business. And when we talk and you'll be shouting behind, honorable members of the majority, even now, your 40 has reduced. Mr. Speaker, it's a very serious matter, and I want to tell them that until you bring your numbers in, the Minister of Finance is not going to lay any paper. It's not going to happen. You are less than 40. You are not going to lay any paper because you don't have the quorum. So this is the time for you to bring your numbers. You do. You need quorum. Okay, all right. You are now talking law. You want to go to procedure. You want me to show you where we need quorum to start business? All right, very well. Go to the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the President has 4 more nominees to present for us to deal with. If that 4 is causing anxiety, then your duty is to prevail on the President to bring the 4. It's delaying. Is this anxiety that is even causing you to be absent in this chamber? It's left with 4. You said 60. The Finance Minister was here applauding the government that, oh, we promised 60 minutes, we've delivered. Where are the 4? Are you being indecisive? Agriculture, you said, you promised. Agriculture for transformation agenda. Go to page 152 of your budget, Finance Minister. Go to page 152. You promised 1.5 billion only to allocate 924 million Ghana cedis. What is your seriousness on agriculture? You are rendering the Minister of Agriculture redundant. And you don't come here to do business. Well, the Finance Minister,
Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would end. Mr. Speaker, I will be end. I will end. But we are not formally going to raise this quorum because we believe that the Minister of Finance, after presenting budget, must go through the necessary protocols so that this House can function. Deputy Majority Leader, today is your last. Your side must show seriousness. The NDC majority must show seriousness. We will let him lay his papers so that he can go back to the ministry. But this House is not for ceremonial days. Only sooner, then you come here. When it gets to budget, then you dress and come here. And then when it's left with government business, you don't want to come. Then you are all at Jubilee, negotiating for board, deputy minister, looking for appointments. Absent majority. And they won't even keep quiet. Where are your numbers? Where are your numbers? Where are your numbers? We need your presence in this chamber.